So I want to welcome everyone to our webinar directed at the architectural engineering and construction industries. And today we are featuring our awesome customer, Torti Gallas. And we're going to walk you through not only a demo on how you can utilize your LucidLink with some of the common AEC industry tools like Revit and any of the Autodesk pieces of software. But we're just going to also take you on the journey on how Torti Gallas actually found LucidLink and what it means, what it meant before and after LucidLink. So with that, again, thanks for everyone attending. And I have three panelists here. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a second. But let me tell you who they are. So from Torti Gallas, I have the Chief Technology Officer, Omer Mushahwar, and he's got all the colorful pictures in the background. And then his cohort, who's the Director of Digital Design, Rado Rendersky. And then from my neck of the woods at LucidLink, we have Rich Warren, who's on the East Coast, and Rich is our sales engineer guru. So with that, Omer, I'd like to turn it over to you just to say a little bit about yourself and then hand it over to Rado.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, I'm the CTO for Torti Gallas and Partners. Been with the company close to 16 years now, in charge of any and everything IT and technology related. And definitely looking forward to this webinar and speaking more about the solution.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Rado, and I'm representing the happy user here today. And I'm a director of digital design at Torti Gallas and Partners. I've been with the firm for 18.5 years after I was coming from Slovakia with my architectural background. I've been using Autodesk technology for about 24 years, including Bentley stuff and other CAD and CAM and GIS related applications. Part of my job description is helping Omer for deploying the new technology. I'm doing training, mentoring, project planning, implementation of new technology, CAD and BIM management, working on Revit templates, coordination, clash detection, and also of course daily support for individual users now when everybody's working from home and for the entire teams. And as well as in-house renderings and animations. And I think that's about it.
Okay. Take it away, Rich.
Rich Warren, sales engineer here at LucidLink. I've been here a year and a half, and initially what attracted, I was LucidLink's biggest fan. Seriously, simple as that. I was the biggest fan of the technology. I was like, oh, finally, could actually utilize cloud storage in an effective manner. And then I joined the team here. But anyway, that's my story.
We're lucky to have you. And I'm Julie O'Grady. I'm the Director of Marketing at LucidLink. And I'm going to let Rich tell you a little bit more about LucidLink and a little bit more technical detail.
Sure. Let me share my screen here. But yeah, so let me just move everything around here. There we go. So yeah, to start off with, the important things to note, like what LucidLink is, one, it's a centralized repository. The cloud now, that cloud storage is 100% of the time your single source of truth. No more, the days, you remember in I always say the ancient days of the internet, right? You had things like, remember, like you got mail from like AOL and that, right? You had all the, and frankly, the same thing with cloud storage. You have all those file sync and share solutions, your Dropboxes out there, your boxes, and people using storage gateways to do these things. And it's always the issue is I put the stuff up in the cloud and I got to sync it locally to work on it. Well, that's a horrible idea. With us, 100% of the time, the single source of truth is in the cloud, and that's where you work on it. No different than if it was a local disk. Picture, you have a 40 gigabyte file. When it's on your local hard drive, you don't have to read the 40 gigabyte file into memory. You don't even have 40 gigabytes of RAM, right? Typically. You just read and write to the tiny little bits of data on demand. That's what you do with LucidLink when that data is in the cloud. All that is needed is a software client that runs on Windows, Linux, or Mac OS. That's it. No hardware, no virtual hardware. No, just install the software client. This means you edit real time in the cloud. No more, like I have a file. I have to download it before I use it. No, you're not downloading anything anymore. Those days are over. It's over. A file sync and share. When you discover LucidLink and you discover the technology that it brings to the table, you realize file sync and share with the cloud, it's dead. It's obsolete technology. This means you can use, like in the AEC industry, you can use Autodesk, SketchUp, Adobe stuff. You just use just the applications you use because it's essentially just a local drive. That's all that cloud storage is. How secure is it? Very secure. Client-side encryption. Never do you create a user ever in a web portal for your LucidLink file space. It's always created in a software client. That means only the client ever has the password to unlock that encryption key to get access to the data. That means your administrative password, your root password, you can never forget it. We can't even reset it for you. It's what we call it a zero knowledge encryption model. And then to even, the security on that, remember, you want to protect things. You want an efficient way to protect things. And we have immutable snapshots. You could define the interval that you want to do these snapshots. They're immutable. You can't write to them. So, I remember in 2019, there was all these stories of some of the big name companies that were subject to ransomware attacks. I always said, geez, if they were just using LucidLink and using immutable snapshots, there'd be zero money paid to ransomware. Zero. The architecture is fairly simple. There's three components: the LucidLink client, the object storage itself, and then off to the side and not in the data path is a LucidLink server. So you install the LucidLink client on your Windows, Linux, or Mac machine. This does the data compression. This does the encryption, handles the encryption, right? We also use a local cache as well on there. 5 gigabytes by default, expandable to 10 terabytes. That's the LucidLink client. Now, here's the key thing to remember. You read and write to the object storage directly. Read and write. Your data is not being passed through some LucidLink thing in a cloud or anything like that. No, you read and write directly to the cloud, directly to that object storage from your client. Off to the side is a LucidLink service. Now, one of the key things that we do is we extrapolate the metadata from the data. So sync and share solutions, right? Even your storage gateways, all these obsolete technologies, what did they do? They synchronized the data from the cloud locally, and then you read and wrote to that local appliance or to your machine, right? Your typical Dropbox storage appliance type model, right? The LucidLink, what we do is we extrapolate the metadata. The only thing we synchronize across all the clients globally is the metadata, not the data. And then we chop the data up, right? The old model was one file equals one object. What we do is one file equals many objects, actually 256 kilobytes by default. But it's those tiny little blocks that you read and write to on demand. You don't download an entire file anymore. The LucidLink service coordinates that metadata so all clients globally, truly globally, are up to date as to what's happening in that object storage. But every client globally is reading and writing directly to that object storage. And then what does this mean? This is the coolest thing. You have your global namespace in the cloud. It sits up there. Workers working from their home office, connect to it, read and write to it directly. At the corporate office, people read and write to it directly, no matter where it is. From a construction site, with that internet connection, a hotspot on a phone, can read and write to that namespace. Or from a VDI setup. But it's truly a globally accessible namespace where every client reads and writes directly to it. Now, I'm going to stop babbling here. I'm going to throw it over to Omer here, and he's going to, Omer and Rado are going to show you how it works. I'm going to stop sharing, and
right before we jump to Omer, I'm going to do a little quick poll here. Excuse me. So here's our question. What's your role in your company? I'm just going to give you a few seconds to answer this. Got some project managers, director of digital IT. Here we go. Okay, anybody else chiming in? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And here are the results. You got it? So we've got, you know, a tie between IT and other. So I'm curious to see what that other is. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to Omer, who's going to tell us a lot about how Torti Gallas found LucidLink and what they were using before and just the journey that they've gone through with us. So take it away.
Yep. So I'm going to share out my screen. Go through a quick little PowerPoint, just a couple slides. So let me know if everyone's good to see it.
Yep.
But just wanted to give a little bit on our company. We're Torti Gallas and Partners. We're architecture, urban design, and planning firm. Our headquarters is in Silver Spring, Maryland, but we have offices in DC, Los Angeles, Philly, Tampa, and a liaison office in Istanbul, Turkey. So we are spread out, even more so today, much like I'm sure everybody else due to the pandemic and working remotely. And we are really happy to be here to be presenting with the LucidLink folks. So with that, just a little bit about us. We've been in business 68 years. You know, we do work all over the nation and internationally as well. Constantly taking on new projects and working on all scales, buildings, and sizes of projects. And we definitely like using technology to push our limits and you know, deliver as great a project as we can. So this is a little bit kind of more of a traditional setup. Talk about the IT side of things a little bit. Might be boring for some of you non-IT folks, but you know, this is kind of how offices used to be set up, especially in a multi-office environment like we have. You generally have some heavy expense circuits like the MPLS shown here in the middle that connects everything. You know, you have your on-prem storage, be it NetApp, EMC, whatever your favorite physical storage device to use is, and you got people connecting with some sort of VPN. We're Palo Alto, so we use Global Protect, but this was generally where everything was kept. It was on-prem, you know, not as great to access from home, though we started to branch out. You know, we took on Office 365 pretty early on in its rollout, so we've been doing SharePoint. We've been doing VDI and WorkSpot to give some better access and better tools for remote workers. And then obviously when BIM 360 came around, it was definitely a big change for us to shift projects. We definitely still do a ton of projects in BIM 360, but you can see everything's kind of its own little silo, right? Each office kind of had their projects. their data was kept either, in their location. As Rich mentioned earlier, there wasn't really that kind of syncing to keep like active data sets in every location. And, you might have had an outdated set, or you'd had to go across the MPLS to grab data from somewhere else. And you're hoping it's the right one. It's the most up to date. And so, as we kind of transitioned, we began looking at every kind of program we use across the office. So here's kind of a few of them. So we use pretty much the full Autodesk suite, big Revit shop, AutoCAD, Civil 3D, InfraWorks, Navisworks, obviously Adobe, lots of renderings with Enscape, Lumion, SketchUp, and a big new Forma shop currently. And we needed to find something that worked with everything, because you can't just leave off half the office when you're looking at an enterprise-wide solution. So we had to really start to educate ourselves on what's out there, see what was the best fit. And then we also had to, on top of all that, find out what would best work for people working from home, because we've done that for the last year. And that had to be a big part of the solution, to make sure we were in a position to move forward and improve everybody's access, because at the end of the day, that's how we kept projects going. We need people working. So we went with this cloud-first approach. You can see, obviously, the offices look a little different in this setup. We don't spend that heavy expense on that inter-office connection, because there's really nothing that needs to flow between the offices anymore. We have internet connections at the locations, and now everything, for the most part, is cloud-based. We have a couple systems like Newforma that still sit in one office or another, but we moved all of our data into the cloud, at least everything we could, and now all of our data resides where it's highly accessible to everybody, and extremely fast to access. And that's really the big differentiator, because you're not going through your internet connection at the office to get to a big file. You're going through these giant pipes that these cloud storage providers have, and you're not limited because, hey, we have 100 people working remotely. Our connection's going to be extra slow for everybody. So this also helped us bring in kind of the scattered data, where we'd have stuff in like SharePoint for one group, and then there might be some project data in one office for another group. Now everybody's looking at the same unique set of data, and that really helped kind of bring it all together. So with that in mind, I'm going to stop that screen share for 1 second, and I'm going to bring up one more thing. So it's fun to talk about, sharing all this, but let me show you kind of the real time, right? So on my screen, you can see 3 Windows Explorer shells open. This is my local machine. This one in the top right is on one of our WorkSpot desktops, VDI sitting in Azure. And the one on the left is actually our server sitting out in our LA office right now. So you can see everybody's looking at the same folder right here inside LucidLink. And I'm going to drag and drop a file real quick. So you saw me load it in. You'll see it pop up on every Explorer shell in just a matter of seconds. This has changed everything from how we can now build our teams. It's not like that project's in that office, so that office works on it. Everybody can access everything. You can see it with bigger files. Obviously, this is like a smaller DWG. We're going to show a quick demo with Revit in just a minute. But the beauty of LucidLink is you just have a little application here, shows your connection to the data set. Obviously, we have a lot of storage, so you can see that we have a lot of storage. And you can see, up to date how your metadata index is. And this really drives everything for us. And it's really important to kind of understand what you need to drive when you're looking at a solution like this, because, at the end of the day, it needs to work and it needs to be seamless. And, the fact that we're now using cloud storage here, accessible through this app, and we're mapping it to every system we have, be it in Azure, be it in another office, and we can just mount it as a mount point looking like literally the exact name of our old file storage. So links don't break. We have, Newforma working with it. which was an issue with some other systems we were looking at. We have servers being able to read it, you know, depending on their different things. And it's just really brought together everything in one place and unified all the data across all our offices. And, you know, when you look at the decision of doing something like this, obviously your end user, Rado, who was a big tester for us, is really the most important player, because this is going to affect them one way or another, and really looking to improve that experience. So with that said, I'm going to stop my screen share so Rado can show you him playing in this file, and then I'll do a sync so you can see that Revit works just well off this. So let me stop this. Rado, when you're ready, feel free.
Yep, let's go ahead. Okay. You see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so we are in the same file. This is basically not a big file. The DGP is using much larger files in real life, but this is the default Autodesk example. And what I want to do, I just want to make some changes here real quick, you know, copy some elements and then save it over to central file. This is work shared file. So maybe I can just select all the instances of the columns in the entire project and just copy it over. And I'm going to save to central real quick, just like the regular Revit workflow. And again, it's sitting on the LucidLink. I'm going to save to central. And we have files that are over 600 megabytes, and saving time to LucidLink, it's like 2 to 3 minutes, the most. So it's much faster than it used to be through the regular VPN and other applications. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Omer can go ahead. Just reload.
Yep. So then you can see, excuse me, I have the same file open. You know, I made my local copy. So I'm going to reload this.
There we
And
go.
you can see all the changes he made, just like we were working off like our on-prem storage. You know, this just really simplified everything for us. You know, I will say we're still a big BIM 360 shop. That's the way for all of our projects. But you know, you can't put everything in BIM 360. And so, you know, for older projects, for stuff we're doing internally, kind of before we upload it to BIM 360, we do all our work right off LucidLink. And then we have used that as a bridge, especially now with everybody working from home. And it's been incredible to the speed and the responsiveness that we've been able to get out of this product. And now Rado's going to show off a little bit more because we use a lot more tools than just Revit. So I'm going to stop my share and let him kind of show you some of the other stuff we've been doing.
Before I show that, one thing I want to mention, you know, like when we migrated to LucidLink, you forgot to mention that 50 terabytes of data that you had to actually brought from the original servers and CD archives. And we have folders from backups from like 1990, right? The firm used to use MicroStation J and V7, V8, and there was a very sophisticated way of mapping the drives to load the configuration variables so these programs can even run. And now with LucidLink, actually, we can remap those old network drives and still use the old programs and open up the very old data and you know, use those archives. Otherwise, it would not be possible. So this is very good benefit of LucidLink. So don't worry about losing your old network structure if you are migrating to LucidLink. So I'm going back to share my screen here, and this is not a software tutorial, but I just want to mention for the people who are afraid about like a file size. So the Revit, we showed about Revit. I have a Civil 3D file open over here, and what you're looking at is the entire Washington, DC base file made out of the GIS 2019 dataset. And the file size of this drawing is 1.3 gigabytes. And it takes 3.5 minutes to open and save using LucidLink. And it has 3D contours. It has all the, you know, even street trees and stuff like that. So this is just to show you the amount and how you know, great that the time opening is, because in the old VPN environment, I was waiting like 15 to 20 minutes to open a file like this. And from LucidLink, really, it takes 3.5 minutes. So, and also including the Microsoft Bing auto image geographic behind. So it's very flexible, very fast, you know. And we've been using, you know, we are an architects, but we are using Civil 3D because the advantage, because now everything is geolocated, and we are receiving geolocated files from civil engineers and surveyors. We can do the elevation analysis, slope analysis, and stuff like that, and everything is very, very, very fast for us in the Civil 3D environment. The next example I have over here is the InfraWorks. And this is a 200 square kilometers of the land in suburbs Washington, DC. This is Bethesda, Maryland. And you know what I've been using this program for, or us been using this for, like creating the base models for visualizations and renderings and presentations. So this file is over 2.5 gigabytes, and it's an SQL database. And you know, for those of you who are familiar with InfraWorks, InfraWorks does not have a save button. If something crashes right now on me, it's there. When I open it next time, everything is there because it's constantly saving. So right now, I'm constantly saving the database to Lucid location, right? Because this file is running from Lucid location. So it's amazing how you know, fluent and you know, immediate the response is, even with the files like this. So what we've been using this, like this is a base file, and I can switch to Lumion, and this is like the almost final product where I have another 3 gigabytes of data. I have 3D trees, I have another buildings added, and again, it's running from Lucid. You know, it may be a little bumpy because of the zoom, but this is the file that is actually sitting on Lucid, and everybody can launch it from any office around the world, you know. And I just want to mention, like Omer said, we have multiple offices that you see next to my face here, but now we have over 120 offices. And the other day I was talking to a guy, and he needed help, and he told me that he lives in Portugal, and I had no idea. So we have people who moved around, you know. So we have over 120 offices, and everybody can actually launch the same data and use it the same way. Also, I have a Navisworks here opened. This is something that is currently under construction, groundbreaking in Arlington, Virginia. And you know, for clash detection, I can bring multiple files from multiple sources, and everything is just nice, up and running. This file opens in less than a minute. It can be saved in less than a minute. So this is about my quick presentation that for CAD users, LucidLink is actually much faster than the old practice doing the remote desktop or VPN connection, because everything lives in your computer. And now when Autodesk actually, and I'm talking about Autodesk, now when you have a user assigned license, you can actually install the program at home because you have an Autodesk ID. So when you log into LucidLink, you are running directly from your computer. You don't have to VPN or remote to some other computer. And we do have those workspot machines. I have 2 laptops here. One is on Wi-Fi and another laptop is on Ethernet, and this is a desktop Ethernet, and everything is just no hiccups. The only thing is people need to be careful and disciplined when LucidLink releases the new update. It's important to run those updates because then it just reconnects the database, but that's the only user involvement that, you know, people need to be aware. Otherwise, it's just a single click and you see all the drives like you used to, and there is no difference.
And in regards to the upgrades, you know, obviously now with everybody work from home, that is something normally IT would just run for them, but you know, we're asking people to just keep up on their updates, which is pretty common right now. You know, excuse me. The other thing here that you know, we haven't touched on, especially with looking at like cloud storage and, you know, some of the others, is file locking is a big deal. The reason a lot of things don't work with Revit is because the file locking doesn't work, and it can break Revit, it can break the files. And we tested, you know, pretty much every file type. The beauty of LucidLink is you can literally put in every kind of file type you want file locking to engage on, and they will engage into that file type. And so the second someone opens it, the file lock flag goes up, and you know, it's just like if, you know, it was sitting on your NetApp or your window share. The file locking works incredibly well, and it's been a big asset to us. So that was one thing that, you know, I was kind of surprised about. I was like, how's just a software solution going to handle all this? But it really does, and it's kind of incredible. And so it's changed a lot of how we're looking for the future. You know, this is obviously going to become a big part of kind of how we look at the hybrid workflow, because, you know, when things do settle down, when things get back in the office, hybrid is going to be the way to go. So we're ready for it. So regardless of where people are working, they're going to be connected and good to go.
Thanks, Omer. That's great insight. I'm going to do just a couple more polling questions, and then we're about ready to open up for questions. I'm sure you have a lot of questions, and these guys are prepared to answer them. So let me go to, sorry, let me go to poll number 2. Okay. Here's a couple questions for you. What's your company doing for remote work? Thank you, Omer. You just gave me that like great intro when you talked about hybrids. So great mind to think alike. And then also on our little poll here, we said, is your company a cloud first company? So if you can all take a moment to just respond to these polls, that would be great. In the meantime, you can think about what questions you might have. Okay, I'll give you guys about 5 more seconds to see if anybody else wants to answer. All righty, I'm going to show you the poll results here. Okay, there's you know, 3/4 of you looking at the hybrid approach, and a lot of cloud first companies out there too. So thank you all for your opinions. So right now I want to open it up to questions. And I see we have a few here in the Q&A. David asks, how does the DWG file locking work? Have you had any issues with people being in the same file? I think we're going to answer that live.
Yep. Is it okay to go ahead and answer?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like I mentioned, the file locking is great inside LucidLink. We actually went through all our file types when Rado and I were working on the demo to what we wanted to set the LucidLink file locking in place for. So, you know, we pretty much did all of our standard file types, and DWG is one of them. And there's been no issues of people being able to overwrite or get into the same file with that in mind. So.
Great. Thank you. So David had another question here. Did you find that users in your offices saw any performance degradation? They went from opening files on their local file server, which was in your LAN, and now they are communicating with LucidLink through the WAN, question mark?
It's faster through LucidLink.
Yeah, we're noticing with a lot of stuff, it's either just as fast or faster because of the way it breaks down the files, as Rich mentioned. And so even, you know, right now our offices we're getting ready to renew our ISP, so we are looking to increase in bandwidth, but we're seeing just as fast, if not faster performance. And then the added benefit of everybody being out of the office is getting just as fast a performance as if they were sitting here. So it's been a big game changer.
Great. Okay, we have a couple more questions, a few more questions. I love these. Another one from David. From the demo, it looked like you were using Wasabi. Is that what you're using for production?
Correct. We are using Wasabi as our cloud storage for this deployment of it. You know, when we did our demo testing, we did it with Wasabi and we had 0 issues. And so we've been live on it with our production since. We set up all of our snapshots, like Rich mentioned. I mean, we have schedules that go up to 13 years for stuff. And the beauty now is I don't have to worry about my storage running out. It just grows as I need it. You know, there's a ton of different cloud options you can use this with. So if you're already in with one, you can, you know, bring your provider. But we've really had no problems with Wasabi at all, being our production. And that's something that, you know, should something happen, we know we can always migrate to another cloud provider because LucidLink has so many partners in that regard.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we do. You can bring your own custom storage, or you can use one of our cloud providers. We have different options where we actually bundle the cloud service with this as well. So I'll talk about that a little bit more as towards the end of the webinar. I have another question. This is from Sandra. Sandra asked, are you able to map more than one drive to the LucidLink storage? Good question.
There's ways to do it. You know, we have it, and I will show this let me share my screen real quick to actually answer this one. So there's a few ways to do it. So we actually had, because of Newforma, decided to make our initial mount, and when you go into like the settings of LucidLink, you can see this. We made our initial mount and network location so it looks like, you know, our previous file shares. So it looks like the server, and then you see the shares. But we have also inside LucidLink instructed that share to show up as our T drive. You know, if you wanted multiple drives, there's ways to script it to then, you know, add folders to other locations within the data set. You know, I don't have it on this computer, but like Rado mentioned, for our older data set, we had to have something mapped as the Q drive and the P drive. And we basically had done that with a registry key that basically shows those drives. And as soon as LucidLink's online, you can go into the P and Q drive and work on it that way. We did this for specific departments too that may have had a specific drive letter. So, you know, they load LucidLink just like everybody else. They get the T drive and the network mount point right here like we have. And then on their machines, they have the registry key that also maps it as the drive they're used to, so that for their pathing of older files, if they need to reference that drive letter, it's live and active the second LucidLink is. So there's definitely ways to do it, and the team's great about whatever your scenario is, getting it to work.
And it works. Like I said, I've been using it, and I have a multiple drive letters mapped to the same LucidLink storage, and they point to the different locations for the standard files, for configuration variables and stuff like that. So it is very helpful.
Great. So Peter had another question, excuse me. Do you use Sheet Set Manager with Civil 3D? Does it work? Does it not break?
Actually, we are receiving civil files and consultants files with the sheet sets. We are not producing it in-house because we are primarily Revit office, but we have never had problems with the sheet sets.
That's
as far as I know.
And we've actually got the same question coming out of both David and Sandra. It's about backups. How are you handling backups?
LucidLink has a great mount snapshot feature. We forgot to mention that you can actually go to history. Maybe Omer, you can mention a little more.
So I can actually share this too. Let me share my screen out. But yes, basically when you create your file share, you will see, you know, you can set up a schedule for your snapshot management, and this handles pretty much all your backups, and they're immutable, as Rich said. So nobody can cause any damage to your backups. You can grab files from them at any point. You can mount them at any point. We determined our best schedule. Obviously, with the AC world, there's, you know, in some jurisdictions, 13-year compliance. Sometimes it could be longer. So we have a schedule with yearlies, with monthlies, with weeklies, with dailies, with hourlies, and each one's set to keep a certain number based on our what we felt was our best snapshot schedule for us, and managed it that way. You know, if you're asking for a full data set backup, I mean, these are incredible. Some companies are looking to back up their cloud, so some of that depends on which cloud provider you're using, and if you're going to just like back up that way, you know, there's ways to do that too. We've been working with the snapshots, and it's been great. So we've had no issues here with snapshot management, with access, and so it's really good. And like I said, it's really up to your schedule. So you dictate what the snapshot schedule is when you create your schedules, and it's very easy to work with.
That's awesome. I want to see if we've got any more questions here. Yep. So David said, are the snapshots accessible to the end user so they can do their own restores?
Yes.
Yeah. Just like I showed in the client a second ago, that snapshot screen is available. They can mount the snapshots at any point to access them. And as the admin side of the house, it's not something we need to worry about them deleting something out of it, because, you know, they can drag stuff out. They can't add anything to it. Like Rich said, it's read only. No one can mess up the snapshots. So they can go in, grab their file, and pull it out. It's kind of like volume shadow copies in the Windows world. And you can see the folders. You can go into them and browse for what you need. So it works really well.
I'd also like to add to that, to where you could assign users specific read-only or read-write access to the folders of your choice. With the snapshots, those users still only have access to what you've given them permissions to have access to, even on a snapshot.
Mm-hmm.
Great point, great point. David's got another question here, a couple questions. Are you backing up your Wasabi or just relying on snapshots?
At the moment, we're relying on our snapshots, though that is part of our next evolution of this, to do either another data center or something along those lines.
Great.
I will say that we do have some customers, even on they'll like replicate. They'll have a machine set up a lot of times in the cloud, set up, and it'll do the replication from one file space to another file space using rsync or robocopy, typically rsync, right? They'll set up the Linux machine, it'll do the rsync maybe once every 24 hours interval, to where they can have another file space in a different region, and even from a different provider. So we do have people doing that as well.
That's great. We've got a lot of great questions here. Feel free to ask more questions. What I wanted to remind everybody is LucidLink offers a free 14-day trial, and you can check out our basic file space, which is using Wasabi cloud storage. You can use a team or an enterprise file space, which is featuring the IBM cloud storage. And all these, you can get your whole team on there and try it for 14 days. Or you can bring your own custom storage. We support Azure as well. Or any, if you're already set up, you're all set. So I really invite you to try us out. And if you have any other questions, and if you want to talk to someone in more detail, you can always send us an email at info@lucidlink.com. And with that, I want to see if we've got any more questions. This has been an awesome webinar with just loads of good questions. Omer,
looks like one more.
You got one more?
It looks like one more was asked. Is there any option for collaborative editing like 365? So this is really like your file space, right? So the collaboration tools and things like that are more kind of dependent on the software you're using for your files. So like, while Revit's really good at collaborating everybody in the same central model, the collaboration in like Excel and things like that are really built into the 365 cloud. So you really need to be either on that cloud or just using something like track changes in your Word documents, and then just having people go in after each other. There's not that kind of open to everybody, because then that's where you kind of get into the realm of saving over and overwrites that cause issues, and we really don't want to break files, and that's why the file locking is important. So even with our users now, while the file may be stored on LucidLink storage, we tell them to use the 365 sharing for like the Excel to get everybody to comment in on, because that's what it's built for. Same reason we still use BIM 360 or Autodesk Construction Cloud now. It's built to accelerate Revit to an advanced point and share it out with all your clients and consultants. So, there's different aspects of this when you talk about the sharing, where it's really important to understand who you're sharing with, what you're sharing, and how to kind of move that forward. And whether, I've seen firms who use LucidLink, and they will share out a folder to a client or consultant, and then they will open LucidLink in their office, and they're dropping files to each other that way. That's the way to use it. There's a million different ways to use it, and you just need to know your workflows, and then you can move forward with it that way. So.
Terrific. Lot of great questions. I'll just give you guys a couple more minutes in case you've got anything else you want to ask. I want to just let everybody know on the call that we will have a recording available to you as well. You'll probably get 2 emails. One is to just ask to take a quick survey after this webinar that's going to come through email. And then once the file's done rendering, we'll send you out a link. Please feel free to share that. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. We're happy to answer those. And I especially want to thank, again, one of our favorite customers, Torti Gallas and Omer and Rado, who've done a great job, and of course, Rich. And just as a reminder, this is available not only for architecture, as you know, it impacts the construction industry, the engineering industry, and LucidLink has a number of clients in those spaces as well. So we're going to give you immediate access to your data. Omer can attest to that, and you can access it like a local drive. So the ramp up time, which I don't think we talked about much, is like, what did we say the other day? We just turn it on?
What did we take? I mean, the time, obviously, to get this all set up was, I don't know, Rich, we did it in 5 minutes on a phone call. And then pretty much, and then it's just, you know, drag and dropping your data, getting it into the client and into the cloud storage. So that time frame is going to depend on how much data you're moving and what you're doing with that data. Looks like there is one other question, Julie.
How many users?
I believe we're right around 120 users using it. You know, pretty much everyone from home, remotely, either, you know, on VDI in Azure or, you know, from a company issued machine. So everyone. And
again, from the user's point of view, you don't really notice that you are on the LucidLink because you are just accessing the drive later. You don't know if it's a LucidLink or if it's a local, if it's a server or something. So there is absolutely no difference. So it takes some time, first time when you have to index all the files, but every day when you log in, it actually takes a couple minutes, maybe 2 minutes to re-index all the changes done over, because like Omer mentioned, 120 people, different kind, you know, states, countries, and continents these days. It is very, very fluent and smooth. So,
yeah.
So from a user's perspective, you're just accessing things like a local drive, so that the learning curve is minimal.
Exactly. Just like you used to.
Yeah, we made it same drive letter, same network path, same, you know, so everything would just work once we said, okay, we're turning off our network storage. And I mean, we literally got rid of all our network storage for the most part, and migrated everything in, and it's changed everything. So.
Yeah. So do we have any more questions? I don't think so. This has been an awesome webinar. Again, thank you all for attending. Thank you for your time. We're happy to answer any additional questions. Sign up for a free trial. Rich does demos on Thursdays. If you want to sign up, you can sign up under webinars. But again, let's just hop on a call and get you started. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your week, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.